non-conforming, right? It's weird. Why is that guy? It's like getting in an elevator and standing backwards, right? Nobody ever does it. Try it sometime. Get in an elevator, face towards the wall, and everybody gets in. Watch how uncomfortable everybody immediately gets and starts to look at you. Anyhow, so closing in personal space and asking a question. Where do you pick up something? I won't look at your direct on because that would just be too weird, right?
We've talked about a lot in mine, or at least that there needs to be a balance between conformity and non-conformity. That you have to decide for yourself what's so important to you that you're not willing to just change to fit a societal norm and those things that actually define you as a person. So I feel like to some degree you do need to conform, but that you need to decide what things are just too crucial.
I like it. So let's take your thinking. Who gets to decide what we have to conform to? Somebody raise your hand. I'll come to you. I won't get back this close, I promise. Who gets to decide what we have to conform to? Or group of people? Who are they? You can just shout this one out. I won't even, we can be really non-conformist here. Who gets to decide? Is it the president? Is it influencers, what do they call them now? Do we have any influencers in the room? Anybody know what I'm talking about, influencers? Snapchat influencers or Twitter influencers? People get paid because somehow they're considered cool enough that other people care about what they think for some reason.
I feel like I'm an influencer. I'm just saying.
Wisely, absolutely. He got me to come teach his first hour. It's like, can I come paint the fence? Thanks, Anybody? Nobody's a Twitter or a Snapchat influencer in here? Anybody know one? How do I get that job? You guys awake yet? I mean, come on. I'm like bringing. I thought a lot about this morning. It's boggling my mind. What sets those standards? Come on, you guys, thinkers. Who gets to set what we conform to? Why do we conform to it? Yes, brave, thank you.
Okay, I feel like you just like conform, like you choose what you like to fit in the community.
Okay.
So I think it's not like a group of people, it's like a group of people with some mindset.
All right. What's the penalty, man? I love to like build on thinking from one person to the next on big ideas. So what's the penalty for non-conformity? Wait, I'm going to sit like this. Okay. What's the penalty for non-conformity?
Things to your individuality.
Okay? If you decide to conform, you get stripped of your individuality. What happens if you decide not to conform?
You're different.
You're different? Is it always a good outcome?
No.
What are some consequences of nonconformity? Go ahead, yell them out. I like this. This is like group participation. You guys are obviously more comfortable that way. Prison, did I hear? Yeah. Yeah, in some ways, you don't conform to some laws, you can have prison. What else?
Public humiliation.
Public humiliation. Good one. Other ones?
Loss
What
of
is it?
friends.
Judgment, loss of friends. Others? Outcasts. Great answers, guys. Good news, bad news about what I learned about conformity versus nonconformity. As a superintendent, in the context or in a classroom or in a school that I'm superintendent of, guess what I can do? The answer is easy. I can do whatever basically within legal or ethical bounds that I want to. If I want to sit on the floor, if I want to like yell, scream, walk straight, come in, out, whatever, you can do it. And I don't have to worry about consequences of conformity versus nonconformity, right? Wrong! No, actually, you might be surprised to know that as a superintendent or any position you go further on in your life where you think that you have more control, where you don't have to conform, the pressure, the public eye, the legal pressure on you to conform gets heavier and heavier and heavier. All right? If you're a teacher, Mr. Isley is one of the most non-conforming teachers I know. I absolutely love it. Is it because I pressure you to conform or not conform? Are you pressured to be a nonconformist?
Nope.
He just does it. Why? How about that question? Why does Isley act the way he does?
You guys know this.
I mean, you've studied him for almost a year now, right? Some of you in here. Anybody have any idea what causes Isley to tick? Man!
Nate's got it, I think.
You're a mystery, Isley.
Mm-hmm. I'm okay with that.
He does what he does. That's it.
Nate, go ahead, Nate.
I mean, just basically, I feel like you think that there's a better way, that there's a way that fits what you're trying to do better, and that you decided the judgment of doing something different and teaching a different way is more, or is less important to you than educating people the way you think is right.
Excellent answer. And you know what? Strangely, he's getting all you to conform to that idea. Think about it. Ready? You're conforming to non-conformity. In a strange sense. Think about it, right? So, what I wanted to be able to share, I brought a couple clips with me, and I want you to think of education. Education, or being an educator, is one of the most conformist, backwards, boxed in type of professions or experiences you can have. To be educated in America, you're kind of along the same road. You walk into a school and you're going to hear, when you think about the level of conformity, is almost mind-boggling how you guys survive it. You know, I applaud you that you made it this far in your education. And I challenge you to think that way, to know that you're in a system, but the system only has as much control of you as you decide to let it. An issue, though, is if you, and how much you want to not be a conformist within the system, will dictate how far you're allowed to have choices of your eventual nonconformity. Think about that one for a second. The more you're conformed, Mr. Dralas, the more freedom at some point you have not to conform and to lead others not to conform with you. Figure that one out, you guys will all be rich and famous. But today, to give you some context, at least through my role, my eyes, I don't feel as superintendent, and nor did I did when I was Dr. Rock's deputy superintendent for a number of years, that I had more freedom than I had less freedom to be nonconformist. I went from being a teacher to a principal, all the way up, thinking at every level that I was going to have more freedom to do what I wanted to do every day and take all the things that I said, yeah, we shouldn't do things that way, and do them differently. But you know what I found out? Not only is there extraordinary pressure from above, from outside these walls, from government, from people's own perceptions of how they think things should be, but in the end, I found that to a large degree, the pressure to conform and to be part of a bigger system is almost kind of like that unopposable force that draws you in. But it's not hopeless, not by a long shot, because things are changing. Things have changed more in the last probably 10 years, believe it or not, education in classrooms like this and what's happening out in the bigger world outside of Clarkston than probably the 100 years before that. Because obviously, the whole schooling system is based on, what do you call it, an agrarian calendar, right? So you guys all get to go home in June to work the fields. Makes no sense, right? You get told when you can come and go and when you go to the bathroom and stuff like that. You have to ask permission. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But now, information, knowledge, all that stuff is becoming a lot more fluid, right? Think of it in terms of your phones, just how we're constantly bombarded by so-called facts, quote, right? Ideas, how we're kind of molded into what to think or not to think. You know, the walls as they exist in education are breaking down, and that's a good thing. The bad thing is that when you trade one form of conformity for another, I don't know if you're actually ahead in the end. So that's going to be something for your generation to figure out as you go. Thank God, in a couple of years, I'll move on by the time that you have like some floating head in the room. I'm just picturing this, right? Some VR type representation or avatar of this guy here, where he's actually in his bed or in his boxer shorts at home, and everybody's you're sitting on the corner watching him, in free space. It's coming. That we haven't got to the point where we're so conformed and mind dead that we can't start and make decisions to go in whatever direction we have. Because sometimes the biggest chains that you can put on people is to give them freedom. That's another little paradox. Anyhow, there are people pushing against this idea in education. And I didn't want to pull you out like a 45-minute TED Talk or anything like that. This is about more my speed. This is a couple minutes on CBS This Morning. When I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, sometimes they catch little snippets out in the bedroom as I kind of peer out. And this one caught my attention because this guy, Sir Ken Robinson, you guys know who he is? He's a nonconformist in the best sense of the word. You not showed him any Sir Ken?
Not yet.
Disappointed.
No.
We'll get it in there this morning. Sir Ken believes in kind of some different ideas about education, and I wanted you to hear them, and I want to hear what you guys think about them, because I intend to continue on with my predecessor in terms of changing education in schools. It takes time. Surprisingly, you know who the biggest conformists are in my experience? No offense to, they're actually the exceptions to the rule in this room right now, are teachers. Because you can give permission all day long to be a nonconformist. You'd be surprised how few people, when you say, you have freedom, you can run away right now. Okay. See? Okay. You know how often I hear that? Very seldom. Because you know what? True freedom to nonconform is scary. It's really scary. It's easy to sit there in a seat, you're kind of leaning back, you're thinking, when is this guy going to stop talking? To think that nonconformity, man, that's so cool. Why can't we all be it? Well, you'll get your chance. So we're going to listen to a quick piece on Sir Ken, and then we're going to do a turn and talk, and I'm going to hear a little bit about your thing. Hopefully by then you guys had an opportunity to wake up a little more. I know I'm a lot to take first thing in the morning. Cue it up.
We are continuing our partnership with TED to highlight individuals and ideas shaping our world. In our Ideas That Matter series this morning, we are talking to Sir Ken Robinson, the man behind the most watched TED Talk of all time. Robinson's 2006 talk, Do Schools Kill Creativity?, was one of the first to be posted on TED's website. It began with a simple idea.
So I want to talk about education, and I want to talk about creativity. My contention is that creativity now is as important in education as literacy, and we should treat it with the same status.
Bam!
Thank you.
Robinson's talk has had more than 56 million views since its release. It has been translated into 62 languages. His latest book, You, Your Child, and School, Navigating Your Way to the Best Education, offers parents a guide to help make important school choices for their kids.
Maybe kids should be reading this, having their own guide.
Thank you.
Wait, John, before you were talking about body type and how important it is, I said to Ken, why do you think your TED Talk is the most viewed? He goes, look at me.
Yeah, exactly.
Will you watch it again?
For many watchers right now, they don't know what you're saying, they don't know what we're saying.
It's trends.
That's right, exactly.
I would say that's a creative answer.
So anyway.
Let me ask you this, but we've been
move on.
reporting
It's like I'm Sir
about this
Ken.
scandal with American colleges. What does it tell you, that scandal? About
Well, obviously, what's been going on is illegal, it's fraudulent, and it's awful. But to me, it points to a much bigger issue, which is the entire system is skewed at the moment. There's an obsession in America with people going to college. The whole K-12 education system is pushed very hard in that direction. Kids are getting stressed out, parents are getting stressed, schools are being skewed into all the wrong direction. And this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. All these people gaming the system are trying to improve SAT scores to get kids to college. And I think, honestly, it's a false dream, and we ought to review it.
And in one of your testing, I'm sorry, in one of your lectures, you say that the dominant culture of education has come to focus on testing, not teaching and learning. So
That's
this directly applies.
That's exactly right. I mean, arts programs are being cut from schools, recess is being cut. I mean, schools across the country are getting rid of recess for children there was a news report about a program in Texas for a group of schools that's reinstating recess so children can play. And I think we've gone mad, haven't we? There's a news report, children found playing.
So let's say you're a parent trying to extricate your system for yourself from the school system as it teaches. How do you encourage and teach creativity with your kids?
Well, there are several things here just very quickly. One of them is that all children have very different talents. That's the point, really. I mean, anybody watching this who's got 2 children or more, I'll bet them they're entirely different. And the world needs different talents. We need different abilities. And this studio depends on people with all kinds of interests, skills, and dispositions. So there are all kinds of routes to success. And at the moment, we're preoccupied with this particular route and say it's a false hope. But the consequence is that it's denigrated all the other options, the vocational options, other programs that people could take. So the first thing is look at your child as an individual and take proper stock of their real talents and abilities.
One of your chapters is raise them strong.
Yes.
Explain what you meant by that.
I mean, children need to be resilient. We need to let them fall over from time to time. I think we're obsessed with over-parenting. I mean,
That's this college admission process. Let them fail getting into school, into a college, something that they really want.
Well,
She
exactly.
wanted to really party at school. Imagine if that's her motivating factor, if she couldn't get into the school that she
Well, I'll
wanted.
tell you one of the consequences of this as well, by the way, is that kids don't go out and play anymore. I mean, how much time did you spend playing as a child?
All the time.
Lots of
All the time. We did.
Yeah.
Mud.
We rode bicycles for again in the neighborhood.
Look at
Yes.
you.
Yes.
And I grew up in Liverpool. It wasn't some sort of rural city. It was the mean streets of Liverpool after the Second World War. We played all the time. We came out from school, we went out and played. Honestly, we only really went home for the food. We were like cats. We went to the house where the food. I have no idea who my natural parents are.
And also
We went
point
to
out
the
that
food.
college isn't for everybody. There's so much emphasis on you gotta go, you gotta go. I think some people are clutching their pearls to hear you say it's not for everybody, but you point out it's not for everybody, and that's okay.
Well, it's not because it's not. I don't say it's not for everybody because some people can't make it. My point is that there are all kinds of talents and abilities other than those that are needed to an academic degree, and we tend to denigrate them. There are all kinds of vocational options people should be taking. And the other thing, just to say, is that it won't take many more students, I think, leaving college with degrees that aren't worth as much as they thought, with amounts of student debt for the whole scheme to be.
You said a lot of the degrees now are gonna be useless.
Well, there are many good reasons to study degrees, not just for work. But we're facing an economic tsunami at the moment with the spread of artificial intelligence, for example. I mean, when I gave that talk in 2006, for example, the iPhone hadn't even come out. And now people pretend that life wasn't possible without being on an iPhone. Well, these are baby steps compared to what's coming down the track. So 20 years from now, we don't know what the world will look like in terms of job opportunities. So I think pushing people down this old road on the assumption it worked for us, therefore it'll work for our kids, is a mistake. And that's what the book is really about. It's to explain to parents the sort of education their kids need now and the kind of ways that they can get there.
Amen. No, sorry.
Amen.
Yeah, no, it's
Well, now I wanna know.
well, all right, so creativity is important.
This isn't a body type thing.
No, I'm trying to stay focused. Creativity is important also, even if you're in, math, engineering, physics, because the creativity is what's new. So explain that for people who think you're just offering sort of just a pie in the sky stuff. This is important even if you're in science.
Oh, absolutely. That's right. I mean, creativity is the process of having original ideas that have value. I think of it as applied imagination. It's putting your imagination to work. And, we're in a room that is the result of human creativity. We're in front of all these elaborate technologies. We're in buildings that we designed. We're wearing clothes that somebody's designed and then made. We're sitting at a table that's been fabricated. The world depends upon human ingenuity. And the problem is, in our school systems, and I don't blame teachers for this at all, this testing mania is crushing the impulse and the capacity for original thought. And we need that more than ever if you look at the crises you're facing around the world. So it's not some fancy thing to be stuck on the end, and it's not just about the arts. The arts are deeply important, but so are science and math and all the rest, but we need more creative approaches to teaching and learning.
Thank you, Mr. Creativity.
Well, it's
Lovely to have you at the table.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
So,
But of course, with Sir Ken.
if you look
Robinson to you,
from the
you and
aspect
your
of
child and
conformity
school.
versus nonconformity, Sir Ken brought a bunch of ideas to the table there that challenge our notions of conformity in schools. What I'd like you to do just for a second is turn and talk to the person next to you see how many that you can come up with that you noticed, that you heard, in terms of him questioning the conformity that we do in schools or in something that's part of schools. So, interact.
No, this is awesome.
Cool. I'm gonna get you to take a picture. I make like a weekly scrapbook. Man, I'm gonna get like one of those like
Deep in thought.
Yes. Nice to meet you. Yeah. How's the year going? Yeah, excited. Appreciate it. It's funny how we just try expecting kind of small group and order and.
Well, I made my.
No, I think this is awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to go to college. I also think that this is All right, let's pull it back together and see if we can get some of this thinking visible. All right, what I'm looking for again is, where did you hear conformity question or a non-conformity type answer provided? So you can either, based on your conversation or your turn and talk, or something you hear that maybe sparks another idea, let's lay it out there. So what are some things, I counted when I did this, just informally as I was prepping for today, 7, and I didn't work really hard at it. I found 7 different big ideas in terms of questioning conformity of things that we're kind of told to do or that we're part of that Sir Ken was calling us out. So who'd like to go first? Yeah, I know you guys are good like that. There's like 100 people in here, so
There's
this
some
should
back
not
there.
be hard.
There's some back there.
Yes, sir.
Like the push for college and things along those lines, where everyone has to go to college and everyone has to like get a degree and then move on to the, and that's like you're going towards work and that's how you, it's kind of like the path that you take your life after high school.
That's huge. How many in this room have felt the pressure from a parent, uncle, cousin, friend, brother, sister, somebody, teacher, that, yep, you're going to college or else? Raise your hand. Hi. Wave around. Yeah. You guys realize what a perfect point that is? That in the future, jobs that are connected to the trades are some of the highest paid jobs, not only coming out of high school, but then within 4 to 6 years, counting college. We're talking that with a reasonable amount of hard work, people are making easily 6 figures a year. That means $100,000 plus, right? No college. Are they uneducated? Absolutely not. They're some of the smartest people you know, right? And they have a skill. Guess what? That skill will not be transported or sent to Japan or China or Brazil. Because if you need somebody to put in a heater or cooler in your house or an air conditioner furnace, some people call them, or any type of thing where requires something to be done, built, designed that way in the United States, you got it right here. So something to consider. And to know that a lot of people leave college with degrees and end up working at Starbucks. Anybody know a brother or sister has to do that? No friend? I know people do that. They owe like $50,000 in debt and they're a barista. There's nothing wrong with being a barista. hard to pay off $50,000 worth of college while you're doing it, right? Because you're major in, was it like French poetry, or it could be something even better than that you still can't find a job in. So just something to think about, because I feel like in Clarkston, good old here, there's an extraordinary pressure of people that mindlessly go on to college. And I think it's a great way. It's a beautiful way to start in terms of questioning conformity. Other thoughts that came up? Yes, ma'am.
So we kind of talked about like the conformity to like teachers and the way they teach.
Real loud, please. I'm sorry, I'm deaf.
We talked about conformity of teachers and the way that they teach, and how like it's all set on like a plan and what it's supposed to look like. But a lot of teachers teach the same things every night the same way, and for some people it's more challenging, especially in like math and stuff. Like teachers teach from the book, and like that's just
Yeah, I think it's a lot of pain too. Honestly, as your superintendent, it pains me to hear teachers that teach from the book. I prefer, and what I want to push and hire, incorporate all different kinds of teachers, but I think they should teach more from the heart and more from stories and experiences, and anytime they can make things more alive to students, like I'm trying this today to do for you guys, it brings it alive, it connects it, and takes it to a new level. Why do you think teachers don't do that? Don't they want to be? When I was a teacher back in the day, I was a cool teacher. If you talk to anybody, maybe some of your parents. Why? I wasn't as cool as Mr. Isley, Mr. Jollis, but I couldn't. It would bore me to have to flip pages in a book. And I was a science teacher. Like the idea of going chapter to chapter, answer the evens and odds, or draw a picture of a cell or something like that, made me so terribly bored that I thought I'd crack up. Now, if we were talking about cancer and how cancer worked in the body or something like that, boom, I'd perk up and be like, well, that's kind of interesting, especially if somebody in the class said, yeah, my mom has breast cancer, and we started looking, well, what do we know about breast cancer? And the whole class, we learn about cells, but we learn it in a way that kind of connected it to something that seemed real, right? So why do you think teachers don't do that?
Well, I feel like it's the same as like with our IOP the other day in Isaac's class, and Mr. Isaac was like, don't do a Google slide, and everyone was like, well, I don't know how to do anything but a Google slide. And I feel like it's the same thing with like teachers, like there's stuff on like the way of teaching, like every single year it's the same thing. And I feel like they just don't really get off that.
We've lost the conformity. Yes?
I mean, I think the same reason those kids were helicoptered into college because they were afraid to fail, or the parents were afraid to fail, teachers are afraid to fail too. You know, when you take a teacher who's done nothing but kind of the lecture for years, and we introduce something like cultures of thinking, they don't know how it's going to go. And they get up in front of the class and they might not know how to run it, so they feel uncomfortable. They're not sure if the kids got anything out of it, and so they're uncomfortable. They feel like they failed. That takes a lot of risk and emotional trauma to a certain degree. If you feel like you failed at your job day in and day out because you're trying something new, some teachers aren't willing to take that risk. Or practice it, or do whatever. They feel comfortable with what they do, like you're saying, because they feel like it works. And it does work for them, but the kids change, and I think that's the big thing that's missed. That you guys are very different students than even just 5 years ago. And you know, I think it's important for teachers to meet you guys halfway at least.
And that's why it's scary to not conform sometimes. You know, you think it's easy, but remember my words today. You're going to have opportunities to be non-conformist someday. And it'll be interesting to see how far you each in your own hearts and minds decide to take it. So, other thoughts? Where did you see other examples encouraging, observing nonconformity? Yes, ma'am.
Another thing that teachers normally do is standardized testing. And sometimes they do really don't realize that kids test different. So we really just talked about the fact that one person can be really good at taking tests and one person is really bad at it. And they like get drastically different scores, but it might not be because of the reason like, oh, they're dumb, oh, they didn't learn, like maybe they're just not good at taking tests, especially standardized testing. So that's one thing that teachers are really like stuck on that, like rescheduling, like do it over and over again.
And the cutting edge tells teachers and us as educators that sitting down and taking a paper and pencil test is probably the worst way to figure out what a kid knows. Is that a secret? Hopefully I didn't like rat anybody out that works here. The reality is there's lots of different ways to show you're smarter, that you understand something. And do you think about a heart surgeon who's working on you and you're on an operating table, do you want to know that he did really good on the paper pencil test, or actually somebody showed him how to properly, cut out, open up an artery or something in your heart, showed him how to do it or her to do it, and how to stitch you up when they're done, or that they saw it on YouTube and could test really well? You just think about that for a second, how scary it is. Right? You want somebody who knows how to do something, and to show it that way is a lot different than a test. That's a really good point. Other thoughts? Where did you see nonconformity or conformity?
This young man had his hand up for a couple times.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, well, like she said, that standardized testing is not a good way to judge like the smartness or that. But I would also say that, like he said, it kills creativity.
Talk a little bit more about that. That was a really big one that I pulled out too.
Yeah. Well, I'm not exactly what else he said besides that, but testing, he was saying how it kills creativity, and I think that makes sense because I feel like the time we spend, I'm not really sure honestly.
No, it's okay. How about anybody want to pick it up from there? Talk about creativity. I want a window seat now. Go ahead. Tell us about creativity and what conformity and what you heard.
Well, I think it's similar to like what we were talking about earlier with like the college and the way the teachers teach is we're so set on having to take these standardized tests and having to get certain scores to get, let's say, college credit or recognition at a college, or that's everyone's goal. But teachers I feel as if aren't able to go as outside the box like you're mentioning, because they're probably so set on they have to know this to get a high score and do like we want them to do to succeed. However, that limits, like he was saying, the creativity of this classroom.
Mm-hmm. Even adding on that, you know what's scary? Probably 95% of stuff that you ask that will be on test. If you could ask Siri, or whatever the Google phone equivalent is, what the answer is, what percent of the time do you guys think you'd be able to get the answer right? Yeah. Most of the time? If you could ask your phone the question or type it in a class, I would question, if I was a student, the relevancy of why I have to memorize that. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that you don't, because it's good to have some knowledge base. You can't just expect everything to be through a phone. But yes, sir.
So like going off of that, like a lot of the tests when you have to memorize something, that just doesn't make sense, because when in a workplace environment are you gonna have access to information or like general information? You're always gonna have access to that. So there's no reason you should actually have to memorize information. When it's readily available, you should be able to take that information and apply it.
Mm-hmm. So the bigger question becomes, how do you access information, and then how do you tell if that information is good or bad? Think about it that way. A critical consumer of it. Yes?
I feel like,
yeah, go ahead and then we'll go.
I feel like memorizing things can be pointless to a lot of information we learn, because like I asked my parents what they learned in high school, and like they don't remember anything they memorized. I mean, personally, even myself, I'll be asked things that I really learned last year, and I'll completely forgot it by now. It's like memorizing for the test, and then I forget it after that.
Mm-hmm. So
I feel like those test taking, we're just spending the time to get the A, and then after the A, we forget everything or whatever.
That's a good point too. Yes?
Yeah, kind of going on what Gabe and Bob said, like I know, especially with like SATs and PSATs, like we're very stressed about it because it basically tells us if we can get into a good college or like the college that we wanted. So we study for these and then we do practice tests, but we don't actually retain the information because we're just studying for a short time, and then after we take the test, like it's just gone because we never take that time to like sit down and actually think about it and understand. But when we have like discussions like this, like I still remember these stuff, and like this is the stuff that I take with me instead of just what one of the answers were on a test.
They say all learning has an emotional connection to it. You know that? If you don't make an emotional connection to whatever learning it is, it never sticks. It's kind of an interesting thought. It's one of the grad classes. I'm in class right now too, at a different school, but yes. Yeah.
Most of the time you just stress yourself out so much studying for the test that you don't even bother to learn any of the information that's actually going to be on the test. Then after the test after you take the test, you're just like relieved that you don't have to take it anymore, but you don't even necessarily remember anything the test is over.
Yeah. That's kind of a scary thought there.
Yeah.
As your superintendent, it scares me to hear that. Other thoughts? Yes, ma'am.
I just feel like kind of an overall thing is creativity is so like limited now because school is just so forced on the kids. And kind of going to, I think how college is so forced too. Like we're forced to take. We didn't really have a choice. If you didn't take if you're absent on the SAT day, you still have to take it. And like the next week.
Yeah.
And so it's just so forced, and the video, one point that made was that college is just not for everyone, and school is just not for everyone, and so we're all forced to take the SAT, but some of us just aren't gonna use it, and we know that we're gonna do bad on it, so it's just
Yeah,
why.
and then you hear that idea, they say you're college ready. My big question is, what are you ready for? Isn't that a more important question? Because you could probably be ready for a lot of different things. How much time do we have?
You can take all the time you need.
Okay, well I didn't know this hour is eventually going to end,
Doesn't
isn't it?
matter, we'll excuse them.
Oh, awesome. Good, then now that I don't have to worry about conforming to the almighty bell, we can talk some more. Because if you thought that was even mildly interesting, my next little clip's going to blow you away. But I want to hear if you had anything else that might have spurred some thinking here. Yes?
We were talking about how in the video the guy was like talking about he wasn't he didn't want to conform to the idea of like how school takes away creativity, but we were talking about how he basically is conforming to that idea because even though he wrote a book and everything, there's no action to it, and like nothing's changed, so he's still doing what everyone else is doing.
Yeah. No, the pressure to conform when you have ideas. It's easier to tell other people what to think or what they should be doing. It's a heck of a lot harder to walk the talk and to do it. Because, if I'm being honest with you guys, I'm struggling with the idea of how we change education and the way we experience kids. And it's not, I thought it would be just from the outside or from maybe parents or from Lansing or something like that, but it comes at you at 360. There's very few people that feel like we need to completely bust the system up. And I think we're at that breaking point where we're relied on such old patterns of thinking that if we decide to stick to them, that we're gonna go off the cliff with them. I mean, you look at all different ways that society is working right now or not working. I mean, are we really preparing people to think and take on those problems? Because for one person, and I have my job every day is something different about every 10 minutes. So if you have attention deficit like I do or any other type of thing, be a superintendent because whatever you're doing, guaranteed in a little while it'll be something different. So memorizing things for me is completely useless because it's everything that I come across is going to be a new problem. So it's really about being able to have grit, struggle, not to get down or sad when things don't go right, to be able to work with people, to be able to take on things one at a time and creatively try to find solutions to them. Because if you're trying to change the system and be a nonconformist, you got the whole world. Just like you guys have, you feel like you live your days just going, man, by the time you put your head on your pillow, like, how did I survive today some days? That feeling sometimes carries through to adulthood. So you can either take it as things are constantly overwhelming or the system is crushing me to conform, or you can take it as, hey, it's another day. Sun came out, I'm going to take it on. I'm going to try to make it a little bit better today than it was yesterday. And I choose that. But if you look at schools overall, I question even if they're thinking about or struggling with those things. I think they're so comfortable with the way things work. And it's really scary. You think it's scary for a teacher to try something different in a class? Can you imagine? This is like a 2,000 kid high school that's held together because you guys think that we're in charge. I mean, in a way, yeah, you know what? Society will bring the bat if we try to get too nonconformist, either as kids, teachers, or indifferent. But we're here because, in some strange way, the biggest prison, did you ever hear, in the world, or the strongest walls? It was Nelson Mandela, I believe, said it, right? The strongest prison in the world is one's own mind, right? Because you think it, you keep it going. So I would say that you are just about as big of a problem as anything else in terms of changing the system. You don't think you are, but guess what? Here's another surprise statement for you. Nobody in a larger system thinks they're part of the problem. They always look to a different part of the system to say, well, that's why we have to do it, right? People in Lansing say, well, what are we going to do? Because that's where kids need to be. It's not our problem. That's how they learn, right? Teachers say, well, that's because the administration says we got to have things with kids in rows or teach a certain way out of the book, right? Meanwhile, I'm saying, no, don't do that. You heard me. You can quote me on it. But it's like, he says that, but is he really, is that the system expects it? If you're an AP teacher, you're teaching a class where they're having a national test at the end of it. They were freaked out by all the snow days I was calling this year. I was getting hate mail from teachers saying, how am I supposed to get through all this content because the world's going to end if I don't get through chapter 27. They're not going to be ready for the test. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, your life is worth it. But that kind of pressure to conform, I think it comes from a lot of different angles. So, any final comments or thoughts anybody want to share on the Sir Ken piece? Because you guys hit on a lot of things. The creativity idea, and the conformance to how we design schools. He mentioned at the end, everything is a product of design, right? This school, as beautiful and great as it is, has certain similar features as a prison or other institution. It has certain parts that are not. I'm looking at this space right now and how we treat and act. But ultimately, the biggest design comes into how people interact and treat one another, the respect that your teachers have for you, the relationships you guys build with each other. Go ahead, just tear it right open, man. I totally get it. I eat at least 4 or 5 bags of goldfish every day. My favorite ones, you get the new ones that are like super crunch or whatever. Like there's a super cheddar. Come on, guys. Extreme cheddar. Thank you.
Yeah, those are
I could eat an entire one of those bags like in a sitting, just watching like a 30-minute show of extreme cheddar. So never be ashamed of having to open up a bag of goldfish crackers or getting some nutrition with it. That's another little fallacy, right? High blood sugar, your brain's the only thing that does works on blood sugar. That doesn't mean you can convert it with insulin, just be a science teacher. Your brain actually works better when you have food and good blood sugar. So I don't remember where I was going with all that, but feeling kind of random today as it is. So any other final thoughts on that part? Next one's going to really blow you away. Maybe. We'll see. All right, cue it up.
What is school for? Feel free to call me slow, but I spent 16 years going to school, and I still don't know. When I finished, I didn't know how to do my own taxes, purchase a home, or apply for a loan. I didn't know a thing about investments, building credit, or getting a job. I graduated at the top of my class, and what did I have? This fancy diploma to sit at home with my mom. But luckily, they did teach me some important skills like factoring trinomials and how mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. I'm so happy I remember the Pythagorean theorem, because it helped me a lot. Okay, I'm lying, let me stop. Because all the stuff they taught me, truthfully, I forgot. Mom, remember when you would ask me, what did you learn in school today? And I would say, nothing much. I wasn't being modest. The truth about it, Mom, is I had already forgotten. And it's not just me. Millions of students sing the same song. How many of you guys avoid eye contact with the teacher to try not to get caught upon? Afraid to raise your hand for fear of being wrong, which proves that school isn't an environment for learning or building up the intellect. It's just a game you play for grades and how many A's you can collect. But I guess what do you expect when the most commonly asked question in class is this gonna be on the test? Is this gonna be on the test? See, if school put learning instead of testing and memorizing as the top standard, then the letter F would not stand for failure. It would stand for find another answer. And if school was really interested in our personal and academic success, students would wake up later, have more freedom and homework, a lot less. And that's not my opinion. This conclusion has been scientifically tested and proven. And any teacher that doesn't believe me, feel free to check my works cited page to inspect. Oh, and I did it in MLA format because I know that's all you will accept. See, students would get more benefit from an extra hour of sleep than putting them through the torture of an extra essay, reading 150 pages, doing problems 1 through 60 on the worksheet, and having 3 projects due by the end of the week. Not only is it pointless pain, but it's also dim-witted. Because we get so much work, but they don't teach the time management skills to deal with it. See, in school, we are controlled by bells. We have to learn in rooms with the feng shui of a prison cell. We have to ask permission to relieve bodily functions, but not before the teacher asks a million questions like, why didn't you go before class? I'm sorry, my bladder is kind of on its own schedule and it's not always timely. See, teachers always say, use your time wisely. But that never made sense to me. Because these 6 cruel hours of our lives we call school might literally be the worst use of time management ever in history. Think about it, the traditional teaching method is foolish. No, it's useless, multiplied by the square root of stupid. What they do is they cram information in your head, force feeding you, and then you throw it up on the test. That's not education, that's bulimia. And the more bulimic you are, the better you will do on their assessments. So it's no wonder why so many students graduate mentally and emotionally anorexic. See, school teaches you how to memorize dots. True education should teach you how to connect them. True education teaches you how to catch a fish. School teaches you, yeah, you caught the fish, but you didn't show your work, so it doesn't count. Throw it back. I'm just asking, what is school for? It's not education, that's just not true. If you still think that, you might be sniffing glue. See, the word education comes from the Latin root educe, meaning bring out, i.e. bring the gifts out of a person and make them viable. But school doesn't bring out much, it just stuffs more facts inside of you. Now some of that stuff is justifiable. We need reading, writing, and some arithmetic, that's fair. But are you telling me metamorphic and igneous rocks are more important than self-care? If suicide is the third leading cause of death of ages 10 to 24, and Harvard studies suggest the biggest predictor for success is self-control and emotional health, then why the heck aren't we taught how to handle stress, bullies, or rejection? How about anxiety or depression? You know, skills we need for our entire lives. Bro, I don't even know how to cook. I'm honestly surprised I'm still alive. But hey, at least I can name all the battles that happened in the Civil War. Seriously, what is school for? Some say you need it to be successful, and that's something we do not doubt. But do you own a MacBook or iPhone? Did you know they both were created by a dropout? Are you watching this video on Facebook or YouTube? Doesn't matter which you choose, they both were created by dropouts. Ever use Snapchat, WhatsApp, shopped at Whole Foods? Well, make a dropout. Does your home furniture come from IKEA? Okay, don't get the wrong idea. He was not a dropout. Don't be a fool. I mean, how could he drop out? Ingvar Kamprad, founder of IKEA, never even went to school. I know what you're thinking. He's just picking and choosing. There's millions who didn't go to school that aren't successful. Who is he fooling? And you're right. But open your history books and start perusing. You'll find the very people we idolize in school never really had formal and/or secondary schooling. I'm talking George Washington, Abe Lincoln. America's best presidents had zero school between them. Ben Franklin, Thomas Edison, shall I proceed? Ernest Hemingway, Mark Twain, Teddy Roosevelt, Margaret Mead. Now please, I'm not saying drop out, because some schools are great and many teachers are rare treasures. I'm saying that there's a difference between people who are smart and people who score better. I'm saying that your future is something that no test will ever measure. Even if that test begins in 3 letters like SAT, ACT, it's BS if they say those determine your LIFE. No, your destiny is in your hands. You must shape it to be great. So don't expect school to open doors, because it's more likely to slam them in your face. Sometimes I wonder about all the dreams lost in school and how much potential goes to waste. If it wasn't for music and YouTube, then I would have been just another lost case. Everybody watching this, please, close your eyes. Imagine a child sitting in the back of some teacher's class in some town. He never raises his hand, he fails most of his classes, but inside of him, there is a passion. And if nurtured and brought out, will lead him to discover the cure for cancer. But you see, I'm afraid that that child's gift will never come out. He will never win the Nobel Prize award because in class he was ignored and his worth was judged only by his scores. So teachers, principals, parents, advisors, and students, I ask one more time, what is school for?
All right, talk
Hey
about
guys, what's up? My name is Prince EA.
The contrast between conformity and nonconformity. I'm bringing it real here from the standpoint, hopefully capture your interest in seeing what your experiences in school are, or things that you'd like to see, or have seen, or might be part of what change can be in the future. But there's a lot of conformity, nonconformity in the subject of where you're sitting today. And I want you to take, because I was told I got unlimited time, I want you to take a second, talk about that notion of nonconformity and what is school for. Make a connection, and then we'll share it out, and we'll kind of bring it home for them. So, turn and talk again. One last time.
I've seen the video.
Once we get into like tutorials, I think we all pretty much know what we're trying to do, no matter what.
Super excited.
Exactly. It's like if you're a student now and you know what you want to do, take your classes and
We have to.
Yeah, you should.
What's the difference between doing it now and doing it in a year?
I know that. Why am I taking like
I humanly require calculus to be.
Because I'm like, sing all the time. Yeah, why do I have to take Mr. Corrales, I'm expecting his canceling today's test due to this. Because testing is clearly unimportant.
You require calculus.
Yes.
Yeah, about that.
Oh, yeah. Let me work on it. I'll have something.
All right, guys, let's pull back together. Hopefully that surprised. I bet you weren't expecting it to come from your superintendent this morning. So if nothing more today, I hope I made you think. So what did you guys think about in terms of conformity, non-conformity in that video? Who wants to volunteer? Yes.
Well, one thing that was talked about in the other video as well was that students shouldn't be afraid to fail. And that they should embrace that and work with that. And I think that even just earlier, like I wouldn't want to raise my hand because I would be afraid that it was down to student or something. So I think that we need to go away from it. Because one thing that we were also talking about was that a kid who was ignored in my class could be the next one. They're trying to cure for cancer, some bad disease inducing good, but he's ignored and he feels bad because he doesn't think it would be good enough to answer.
That's a really good observation. Good point. Others? Other thoughts? Yes.
I feel like when we're in school, we're so worried about the next step that we have to take, and all of it is for, like when I go to the middle school for AWOD, the way that the teacher gets their attention is, hey, calm down, you're going to be 7th graders next year. Like her job is just to get them to 7th grade. It's not to teach them, it's just to move them on to the next step. And I'm sitting in a math class that I know I don't want to use in my life, but I have to take it because I need 4 years of math to graduate. And so I need to take it to get to the next step in math. But after that, like, it's not useful. And so all it is just keep moving you along so that you think you're being productive and you're doing all this busy work. But really, I get frustrated because I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I feel like I'm sitting in school in classes that I already know I don't want to do this, so why am I here? And I feel like we're so focused on getting a grade and getting to the next step that we're missing out on trying to explore our passions and trying to figure out what we actually want to do.
I like that. I mean, systems are always going to exist at every level. You're not going to escape it because then you end up in a job where, here's a secret, you're going to have to do stuff you don't like to do that has no value. So that's not the point where you can escape, but there is opportunities to find your passion because I went through so many systems to get to this moment in time and space right now in front of you, and it was 100% worth it because guess what? I'm speaking my mind right now. And I think I can't change all systems, but I can move it a little bit better, a little bit different. But I have to gut it out through all those other conforming systems to get here. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but other times a lot of people end that system for another system and then they never get out, right? They die that way. And I encourage everybody in here, work the systems you need to work, conform where you need to conform, get through whatever you need to get through, but don't make that the end of your life, right? find that passion and dream to do something, right? Break that mold at some point. That was a really powerful comment. Thank you.
You can't change the system from outside the system, right? Like I played all the games I need to play to get my own classroom. And then I just did things different because I got to the point where I could do it, like within the system. You know, I teach my own children all the time. You know, like you've got to do the things that you have to do to make sure you put yourself in the best opportunity to be the person you want to be. And sometimes that means playing the game, right? It's like a little bit of sacrifice here and there to keep the big goal in mind at the end.
It's a true statement. So the statement or the thought to leave here when you go home and you're on the kitchen table tonight and your dad and mom ask you what you learned in school. Well, Mr. Ryan says school is dumb. We shouldn't have to come here. He doesn't know why our teachers teach that way, and it's just a waste of time. And he doesn't even know what school's for, and he's the superintendent. If that's what you leave here today, then I'm really sorry, because then you really missed the point of what I was really trying to talk about, right? You get it. You get that we're talking about working within the systems we have, right? That focus on human beings, on passions, and trying to find a different way to conform, right? Non-conform conformity, if you want to call it. So, other thoughts? If nothing else, right, you were told by Mr. Ryan today to think, question. Powerful. But you guys had more in there. I know that must have had spurred a couple other things in your minds. Anybody disagree with it? That'd be a good one. Or go ahead. What you got?
We were just talking about how he was saying how they don't teach us how to do taxes and stuff like that. And you're saying that we wish that we had a class where like they taught us life skills, like they taught us how to like build a fire, how to do taxes, or like find a home, how to cook, how to do that stuff. Because we get to the point where we're out of college and we don't need that stuff, but like we're on our own at this point and we don't know how to do anything. So then we're just scared.
What a mind-blowing concept. Go to school and learn practical skills that you can use in your life, right? It sounds earth-shattering, but why don't we do that? You know what? I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm going to throw that back on the team I work with. Why don't we have that?
And unfortunately, they're always the first things cut, right? Vocational schools were the first things cut.
Yeah.
And the electives are the first things cut, and you've got to cram in like the state standards. A couple of years ago, my seniors, I told them, you know, like I was thinking about painting the classroom, and I was like, you guys should help me. And they were like, I've never picked up a paintbrush. So we spent all their like senior days and IB days after they took my exam. I brought in wood and I brought in saws, and much to Mr. Zittle's chagrin, I taught them like workshop stuff for wood skills. I taught them how to paint. My classroom's painted now because they learned how to paint and how to cut in. And I told them, what do you want to learn? We brought in food stuff. We learned how to cook some things. Like it was just the stuff they wanted to learn, and I think they unfortunately probably got more out of that than the rest of the year.
That's totally true. That's practical application. And strangely enough, you guys might not believe this, but when I hang out with other superintendents, you know, we're all like talking shop. You find that we're actually like one of the more progressive school systems out there, and it might seem really hard to believe, but there are students in this country, in this county, that have it a lot more even mind-numbing than you. I'm totally serious, and I'd never lie to you. I'm telling you that Clarkson is actually one of the more progressive. And are we anywhere near where we want to be? Absolutely, positively not. But it's my hope to kind of keep moving the needle that direction to make it more inclusive, right? That focus on wellness, on people, on passions, on practical skills. I like that. I like that a lot. I'm a huge proponent of people engaged in the trades in college. It's not because I just want to think that everybody should be in a trade. I just think everybody should be able to do their own thing, and that when you're in school, you should be at least exposed to different things so you have a clue what you might like to do and what you can make a living at. Because as much as everything else is pretty awesome, having great conversations with Isley, someday you're going to need to eat, and you're going to need to, you know, pay your rent, buy a house, do all that kind of stuff to have a life. And we got to do a lot better job of making sure kids are ready for that. You know, we're doing a terrible job when it comes to stuff like that. So, other thoughts?
Over here.
Yes, sir.
The problem that I've thought about when I did some research on it is how, like, we have 6 classes in a day, and 6 of them, or 5 of them, including the one I did, are all pointed to the left brain. Like, showcase my creativity and like working on that. And like I only have one class a day where I get to work on that, and not even this semester I wasn't even able to fit it in because of all the stuff I need to put in. So I have 6 classes where I'm only doing logical stuff, and not a single one where I get to work on my right brain, which I think was pretty obnoxious.
It is in a way, and I, even from a personal standpoint, I have 4 kids. Strangely, one's a sophomore in college, the youngest in 4th grade. I have a 6th grade daughter who absolutely can't stand large parts of school. She likes middle school, like friends and stuff like that. Not interested in math or any of those kind of things. Come to find out, she taught herself how to sew and design, and she designs clothes. She designs them, sews them, makes them, wears them, enters them in competitions. Won like the Oakland County Intermediate Dressmaking Design and Construction 2 weeks ago. This girl goes into her room, right, on like 5 o'clock on a Friday and barely comes out till like Sunday afternoon, and I'll go in and visit and talk with her or whatever to draw her out or bring fresh air. And she just goes in there and constructs, and she uses math, and she uses all sorts of skills to describe them because they have to do write-ups when they present them. And all the stuff at school, like what the skills, but has absolutely no interest in sitting in a class to try to learn it. And I'm thinking, God, what a shame, because to me, she's brilliant, but where is she going to get a grade, right? Is that going to help her get a diploma here? There's something wrong with that, right? Because that's just one example. You guys bring a lot of other passions, interests, and things that you can do that you probably could show math, language arts, social studies, a bunch of other stuff with it, and it's completely discounted. So, really good thought. Any others? Yes?
My parents and my grandma told me when they were kids, there were like those kind of financial classes that taught them about taxes, and my grandma had a class that taught her how to sew and how to cook and how to like live as an adult. So they used to be here, but they took them out, and my mom particularly did not like that.
Home economics. That's what they call it.
Yeah.
Home ec?
I had it.
Love that class. You cook in it. I always try to find a group that had at least some sort of cooking skill. Forget sewing. But yeah, they had consumer science. There's actually a class here at the high school that teaches parts of that. Don't they have? It's called Consumer Sciences.
A large class, I forget what it's called.
Anyhow, your point's taken though. I think that would be something we could bring back because I think a lot of that everybody has to go to college thing is starting to die. You wait, by the time you guys have kids, your 2nd or 3rd kid, you're going to hear this new concept. Every kid needs to go to college again. You're going to be like, what? They're doing that again? Everything just kind of goes in education in a big fat circle. So I think we're moving back towards like trades and home economics and the things you guys are talking about. But hopefully we can be smart and stick with and have more of a balanced approach to things instead of constantly jumping on the bandwagon. But good thought. Any others? Well, thank you guys. Well, I appreciate it. Just a final thought. Again, thank you guys. Remember, question, follow passions, work within systems, right? Get yourself through, but question and good luck, guys. It's been a great hanging with you. Hopefully I wasn't too boring today. Have a great day.
Teachers have been emailed. All right, just go and say you're in our class. If you got a yearbook thing, the pickup for yearbooks in the LGI tomorrow during the lunches. Bring your ticket money.
All right, we got some questions for Sean Ryan from Google. Is there an ATM at Clarkson Heights?